I'm just waiting for it to sync up. And then I will mute that, collapse that, and yay. Okay, hi everyone. Thanks so much for coming. I appreciate that. This is Disability Documentary Night, and today we're going to show two documentaries. Hail, which is a documentary about documentary by Brad Bailey. It's about Hale Zukas, who this month is Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month. So I thought this would be a great month to show this movie because Hale Zukas was born with cerebral palsy in 1943. And, we'll watch the movie. So they'll show basically his story, but he basically fought to help make the public transportation system in the Bay Area accessible. And then that model was used later across the entire country. So he's pretty much responsible for creating public transportation for the disabled. And so we love him, and he has cerebral palsy. So I wanted to share this movie. And Brad Bailey is going to come. He's just running late for work. So if you have any questions, you can write it in the chat, or you can ask him directly afterwards. And so I'm going to start that movie now, and let me prepare. Let me figure out. Oh, no, that's not I know where it is. It's here. Sorry, guys. I'm a go with the flow type of lady, so I just want to make sure I have this up. All right, I do. And okay. Okay, and we are sharing. Oh, and I will ask everyone to mute their mics and stuff just so it doesn't interfere with the sound of the movie and all that kind of stuff. So thank you.
A KQED television production.
This is Weekend Edition from NPR News. I'm Scott Simon. We begin this hour with Russia and the new intelligence report on Russia's ambitions in the U.S. presidential election. The headline, they say Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, personally ordered a campaign to try and tip the election. Both President Obama and President-elect Trump were briefed by U.S. spy agencies on the classified version of the report. Afterwards, Mike Pence assumed.
Have A L O T lot 2 S A Y. I have a lot to say. Thank you. Do you want to talk? Yes. Yes, I do.
Hale Zookas was born in 1943. Diagnosed early with cerebral palsy, he was educated in a one-room schoolhouse in San Luis Obispo, California. His mother refused to institutionalize him.
When Hale was born, and then there were all of the diagnoses of what was going to happen, and they were urging her early on to put him in an institution, and she said, oh no, she said, I knew he was bright. She said he'd lie in his crib and he'd watch when I'd turn the lights on. He'd take his eyes from the switch to over where the light turned on. He was figuring things out, even as little as a baby. So I knew that he had a good brain.
Hale was a student at UC Berkeley, a math major, and fluent in Russian. The Berkeley Physically Disabled Students Program had been around for a few years, started by Ed Roberts. They were housed in a hospital off campus, and the university could not meet the growing demands of the disabled community as a whole. Hale and 4 others founded the Center for Independent Living, the first group of its kind in the world dedicated by disabled people for disabled people.
And everybody was so excited because this was going to be really independent living. And then, of course, they became so successful because they dealt with every aspect, from how to get around in a motorized wheelchair, to what's your sex life going to be like as a disabled person? And yes, you can have one. And, you know, touching every topic of life.
Actually, the demonstration is going on throughout the entire nation: Washington, New York, Denver, here in San Francisco.
In 1977, protests erupted nationwide to expand disability rights throughout the nation. Rights that were promised and not delivered. Hale and other disability activists stormed the San Francisco Federal Building to protest the Jimmy Carter's administration's refusal to sign Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Section 504 was to prohibit discrimination on the basis of disability.
One thing, it's the first really militant thing that disabled people have ever done, and we feel like we're building a real social movement.
We're really sympathizing with the demonstrators. You know, they understood this was an issue.
I can tell you that every time you raise issues of separate but equal, the outrage of disabled individuals across the country is going to continue. It is going to be ignited. There will be more takeovers of buildings until finally maybe you begin to understand our position. We will no longer allow the government to oppress disabled individuals. We want the law enforced. We want no more segregation. We will accept no more discussion of segregation. And I would appreciate it if you would stop shaking your head in agreement when I don't think you understand what we are talking about.
40 years after the protest, Judy Heumann sat down to talk about that fateful day.
And nobody defined, for example, no curb cuts on streets as discrimination. No one defined a movie theater where they said you had to get out of your wheelchair as discrimination. No one defined a bus that wasn't accessible or a train that wasn't accessible as discrimination. And even if you even if you applied for a job and clearly didn't get that job because of disability, it still wasn't being called discrimination.
Hale, now a leader of the movement, went with Judy Heumann and other activists to Washington to confront the Carter administration. They emerged victorious.
As I believe that is, as in any movement for human liberation, you free one set of people and doors open for everybody. Ed, of course, and Judy could speak very fluently, and they were the mouthpiece of the movement. But in so many ways, Hale was the workhorse, going to those commission meetings, making sure things got done.
T, draft. Draft. So do you want me to look up draft here?
Hale learned on his board. He feels comfortable, he's in charge. I think being in charge is very important.
Do you want to look at this one?
I think Hale's great strengths are his intellect and his belief. And if he believes in something, he will fight for what he believes in.
There are a lot of ways in which this is research that is in Islam.
I think the transformative part of Hale to me has been watching him and how he can get his point across.
The motion is to approve publication of the 2015 edition of the standard. Okay, thanks. Okay, all in favor of publishing the 2015 edition of the standard, raise your hand or say aye. 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 Hale, Hale, are you voting?
Yeah.
We?
Yeah.
Okay, the motion carries.
So he traveled every day on BART, so he really knew the BART system extremely well. And he knew what was needed to make it fully accessible. And because he worked in an institute that was all disabilities, of course, he was very aware of the disability needs of other people within the disability community. Even the design of the button, the design of the button that we have today is basically Hale's design. So if you go to any elevator in the system and look at the button, that is a button that Hale basically said, this is what we need.
In 2012, Hale was honored for his work in transit with a plaque at the Ashby Rail Station in Berkeley. He continues his advocacy work to this day. Hale makes the monthly trip to attend the Transit Accessibility Board meeting in downtown Oakland.
Here Hale is to come to the BART Accessibility Task Force meeting. It starts at 2, but he's looking to be on time, and one of the elevators was down, and the impact that had on him. He has to go to an adjacent station and then traverse back.
Green elevator is out. MacArthur platforms 2 and 4. That's your San Francisco Fremont platform. And then additionally 19th Street platform elevator for platform 2 elevators out of service. Those are in right now. We'll keep you advised as that changes. 14, 20%.
He's a man of the people. And he goes with the public, and he takes public transit, and he makes a tremendous effort. So when something isn't right, when something isn't accessible, and he brings it up, it's a powerful message that he's sending. Now he's missed a good chunk of this meeting where his input is so valuable.
That's separate from that minimum basic accessible pathway.
All right, buddy, you still got some brown hair. Easily enough. He doesn't accept no for an answer, and that has its good parts and its bad parts. Well, the good parts are that he makes his way in the world. You know, he doesn't accept limitations. And the bad part of not accepting limitations is that it gets you into trouble. It could be dangerous. And he's hurt himself a number of times, but somehow he keeps going.
Really, Hillary Clinton blamed her for everything. She got blamed for Whitewater, for the Rose Law Firm, for Travelgate, for Flourishopgate, for Gate, for Westfield, for the Livermore outlets. They blamed her for the space shuttle explosion and the sinking of the Lusitania and season 2 of True Detective. She started the fire that killed Bambi's mom!
Hale tells me he's depressed, but Hale is so optimistic. You wouldn't believe it. Hale will go forward and will push, and he won't get stopped. And that's not the sign of someone who's depressed. That's a sign of someone who really feels that he knows where he wants to go or knows what the issue is.
Have you ever contemplated suicide?
Yeah.
I want you to be honest with me.
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
So what stopped you? What stopped you? Being on the other side of the T-H-I-N-L-I-N-E. Being on the other side of the thin line.
I think that there's need for a lot more Hales out there, and it's like someone being an explorer. There's lots of battles that need to be fought in order to make equality, to help people attain a quality of life that we all want for ourselves and each other. You know?
Hale really overcame the greatest barrier. He insisted on being heard. He insisted on speaking out. He insisted on getting it right. And he made things happen that showed that it was possible for them to happen. And once that occurs, a change is possible everywhere.
You spent your whole life fighting for people to have better access and disability rights and to be able to live their own life independently. Why did you not quit? What was the reason you fought so hard? I did not want my STYLE, end of word, CRAM, P, cramped.
Want more?
Julie, California.
Oh, shoot. Hold
Visit
on.
us online to keep up with the local film scene, stream full documentaries, and submit your film.
Hi, Pri.
Hey, what's up? Hold on a second. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm trying. Hi, hold on one second. Let me see.
Sorry, I'm late. I thought it was 6, and then I got the email while I was eating dinner, and I said,
That's okay.
But I'm here. Hi, Marguerite.
Support for Truly California is provided by the members of KQED.
Okay, I couldn't find where that movie went. Hi. Okay, so thanks everyone for coming, and we're so excited to have the director of this film, Brad Bailey. Thanks for coming, Brad. Does anybody have it? I mean, I guess I should ask. I don't know how to. I'm like, what should I do? So thanks so much, and maybe I'll just start with you know what led you to make this movie about Hale Zukis, and did you know about this history before you made the movie?
Well, first off, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's great to see all of you. Thank you for attending this evening, Priya, and thank you for hosting this evening. I should warn you guys, I'm a little tired because I flew in I'm in California, and I flew in from New York. And I had zero sleep. So, and I have I think I have to shoot in like 3 hours. So I'm running on fumes and Chipotle. So I do apologize for that. Yes, and I'm very non-formal on these things. If you just come at me with any questions, if you have any, I'm a pretty chill, low-key guy in some aspects. But no, thank you. I met Hale. First off, how did you like the film? That's a good one. How did you like the film?
I
Those
loved
of you who haven't
it.
seen it.
I liked it.
I see some people are unmuting.
It was too short. Like, I wanted to keep going. But I guess that's what you do.
That's the challenge. Trust me, trust me. Especially with the stress I had. Even here, it was done. I'm actually in Berkeley right now, and it was a lot of those films were filmed like on the street corner around there from where I'm staying right now, and it's just it's about a year's worth of work that was put into that 20 minutes, if you can believe that.
Really?
It's so layered with so many things and so many levels of research and just understand, because it's more than just shooting. Clearly he's an amazing individual, but it's much more than just pointing a camera at someone and saying, hey, go. Like we really had to go into who he was, what his history was all about, understand his life. And I think we shot like 60 hours worth of footage, and we had to really just pick apart those 20 minutes. And it was part of my thesis at Berkeley. And it was one of those things where there was such stress to get it under 40 minutes to 30 minutes. So we were like, it's got to be tight, it's got to be precise. And I think the main goal was to start the conversation, to introduce people to who he was, and to start the conversation. And then people can sort of take it from there, in their own different lives and spaces and arenas with individuals that they know in their own spheres, and just sort of understand what heroes sort of walk among all of you in a way. And I think that was trust me, it was an extreme challenge, and because I wanted to do a whole feature, but I realized that with the time we had, that's also the challenge with filmmaking. Sometimes you don't have the time and the budget, and there's so many different challenges that go into making a film, especially when you have someone who does have a speaking challenge and a mobility challenge. And so there's so many things that I wrestled with during that time period. But yeah, I would love to do more later, actually. Like, it's a beginning spark. But you're right, it is too short, way too short.
Well, you can make a docu-series about Hale Zukis and put it out there.
It's all on the table.
I know. I mean, now the docu-series are, in 2017, docu-series weren't quite as prevalent as it is now. But now they do docu-series about everything. So.
About everything. And you're right. Hale is such an interesting character. I think I would hope that people would want to see a 6 or 7 episode about his life, because he's just as dynamic today as he ever was. So
yeah, I would love to see it, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
Freddie, did you want to say something? I saw you had unmuted your mic.
I just wanted to say that it was a fantastic film, and you did a fantastic job.
Thank you, Freddie. Thank you. I appreciate that. Where are you at now, Freddie? Where are you from?
I'm from the Houston area.
Well, nice. I did a Real Abilities screening at Real Abilities in Houston last year, right before the pandemic, literally right before. And I think they just had a virtual festival recently. They're really fantastic. They're based in New York, but they have a great Real Abilities, which is like disability and film in the Houston, actually all over, but it deals in the Houston area particularly. It was a really fantastic group of people that I met. So they have a lot of stuff going on down there.
Yeah, that's cool. Great. And yeah, so we actually have a few people with cerebral palsy here, Marguerite and Freddie and Tylea. So I really wanted them to see it, because it was, I don't know, I just think it's so great to see someone like Hale.
I have a question for you, Mr. Bailey. Because you guys filmed a lot, right? So did you have any funny moments while filming?
We have many, many, many funny moments while filming. Hale has, as you can imagine, has a particular sense of humor, and he also has a bite. So when Hale is crossed, that everyone knows that he will spell out those words, and not to, I know this is going live and being recorded, but there's some words that I cannot repeat that I've seen him spell out to people that may or may not have deserved those words. And in some other situations, his humor is just, he's amazing. Like I have a tendency sometimes to be a little late. It depends on, I was a little late during that filming process for lots of reasons, because I was a full-time student and filming. And so he would just rag on me. He really would. He's like, "You're 5 minutes late. Like, this is ridiculous." Like he would just like get on to me, and I would just like, "I'm sorry, Hale. I'm trying to do better."
It's the CP thing. We like things punctual. I'm the same way.
He is extremely punctual. Every time we have to meet, he is literally 5 minutes early. He has never not been 5 minutes early. Even if we have to meet across town, he is always there. Except for that one scene where you saw us on the BART train, the transit system in San Francisco. We were late to the disability transit meeting for the San Francisco Bay Area Rapid Transit, which Hale, of course, as the film showed, has had a tremendous role in shaping disability and transit accessibility for the San Francisco transit system. And so we were late for one of those meetings, and so that where he had to go give his input about disability, and we were late because of one of the elevators, and so we had to backtrack. And I think that was a really crucial scene. And I guess
that was like, I related to that so much because I've been in situations like that, and it's like, I know exactly how he felt, because it's like you're taking away our accessibility.
Well,
yes.
and I actually had that exact experience because I lived in the Bay Area, and they didn't announce when the elevators would close, so I would go. But where my experience differed, I actually had the ability to get out of my wheelchair, and I would just grab people and be like, "Hey, the elevator's not working, but I don't want to push many blocks, so I'm just gonna get here. I'm gonna crawl down these stairs. If you could bring my wheelchair to the bottom of the stairs, I would appreciate it." So that's like what happened, how I dealt with it. And when I saw the movie, and I saw that happen, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that happened to me!" So I was just like, so I totally related to that. And
that was an intense moment. That was an intense day of shooting, and that's the thing with Hale. Every single day when we shot, it was just pure gold, absolute gold. It was so tough to whittle down. So you kill your baby, so to speak, and that's the term that my advisor used, because you just have to decide what stays on the editing floor and what actually gets portrayed on screen. But we knew that scene itself had to be in there. That was a really intense day. I'll never forget it.
Yeah. And then, I mean, just because I'm not as advanced filmmaker as you, but just even like the movie I made, you just have an affection for all the people in it. So you just want to keep every single thing and describe them fully. But then after a while, you're like, all right, let me just cut this apart, get rid of this, get rid of that. So
exactly. And it was tough. It was really tough. But the final edit actually, I think was just divinely inspired. I think the major edits came to me, I'm gonna be honest here, in one night, all in one evening. It just I don't, because I'd had a draft version and I was just racking my brains about what to cut. And I think I had like a 6-minute version of the film. It wasn't long. It was almost like a long trailer. And my advisor had almost given up on me. It was like, he's like, "Well, maybe we could just use the trailer or whatever." And I'm like, no, that's not gonna work. And so that evening, I still have no idea how this happened. I walked into the editing bay at 7, and I was out of the editing bay at midnight with essentially the version of what you just saw. And it was strange to me. I was just I even went to a bar afterward and was like, "I think I'm done." It was the weirdest thing. I mean, we still had many, fine tuning and stuff like that, but the core of the film was done in one night. But that was after almost 7 months of trying to decide what to put in it. So I think all of those moments of just deliberation and sweat and staying up at night and just like, where's this go? And all of a sudden, just one evening, it just all fell into place. I've shot 2 films since, and that has not happened, I promise you. But it was one of those divine inspired moments, I think.
Yeah, sometimes that just happens. Like the divinity comes down and channels through your brain somehow. now. So
Absolutely. I
great.
truly believe that.
That's so great, Brad. Thanks for sharing that. I love hearing this story. I don't know. I lived in the Bay Area and I wanted to meet Hale, but I never got a chance to. But actually had a friend who's had a band that he started. He called it Hale Zukas.
Yes, I didn't know. I actually met the head of that band member. You know that, what's his name?
John Benson.
Okay, yeah, I met them at a screening, I think in 2018. By doing the research with Hale, I'd heard of the band. And
Right.
I was always curious as to what they were up to.
Well, John is a wheelchair tech in the Bay Area. So, and he was actually my wheelchair. I mean, I'm in a band too, so we kind of knew each other through that circle. And then he was a wheelchair tech. So
Does everyone know this? There's a band named Hale Zukas. And that band has been around for a long time.
And I played with that band actually.
Did you? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think you sent me the video to that one. I think.
Maybe, I don't know.
There's
There's lots of
he always gets a chuckle out of it.
Zukas, the band comes up too. Because I was
Yes.
looking him up one day and I was like, oh my gosh, there's the band.
They're awesome.
Yeah, they're a wacky band for sure. Marguerite has something to say.
Sure.
I could relate to some things now. I do understand why, how, what, when questions about accessibility and the importance of keep on fighting.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
They never quit. And I think one of the reasons, one of the evening things I did with the film was that, and I would love to hear Marguerite's take on that, on her statement, is that I thought with Hale, he came along in a certain era and a certain period of time where the world didn't really have a place for him in lots of ways. And he saw that and he decided that he wanted to change that he wanted to carve out his own place, a place in the world for him. And I think now, clearly we're not, we have a long way to go, but I think that in terms of where we were, there has been progress, and Hale has been part of that progress. He decided that there was a world that he wanted to change, and he went out and changed it, and I think that's a great lesson for all of us, no matter who you are, that's a lesson that I think we need to learn.
Yeah, definitely.
Marguerite, did Marguerite have any
Marguerite's
other?
typing, she's typing. So, there it is. Hold on, let me see. It says, and the communication is always, and the communication is always the key of how.
Yep.
So, yep.
Because for me, it's like when I speak, people will misunderstood me, but that's how you say certain words. You make sure that you are being heard. And in communication with someone who have to do a communication board is very different from people who the technology board, such as typing and technology that made it more possible for people who may not be able to speak. BERBAL. Because for me, and I'm only speaking for myself, because I had a hard time when the public has a different attitude toward people who have cerebral palsy in the face or body. We are may be different, but if you have the patient, please do not assume that we do not know what we are talking about.
Thank you, Marguerite. It's very well said. Do not assume Marguerite does not know what she's talking about.
No.
She knows a lot. So,
Yeah.
in the short time I've known her, I've been blown away by Marguerite. So,
Me too.
Where is Marguerite based?
She lives in Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit. Okay.
Yeah, I think she. Maybe she had to go get her dog or something.
That's fine.
I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did that man Hale? Did he go to Crip Camp, or was he in Berkeley and didn't go to Crip Camp?
I don't think. It's a good.
Yeah,
Sorry.
he's from Berkeley. He wasn't at Crip Camp. Him and
He
Ed
wasn't at Crip
Roberts
Camp.
weren't part of Crip Camp. They were already living in Berkeley. And if you know their history, they started the Center for Independent Living, and there was like a group that called themselves the Quad Rollers or
Rolling Quads, but
Rolling
Hale
Quads.
wasn't in the Rolling Quads.
Yeah, Hale wasn't in the Rolling
Yeah,
Quads,
Hale
but
wasn't in
you know that he was part of that history and
Yeah.
started.
Right. It's almost like a movie like Where They Are Now, like the early.
Yeah, I know, it's true.
Rebels.
I know.
Like
Awesome.
like the
No.
years before Crip Camp in a sense, because I always thought Ed was a part of Crip Camp for some reason.
No. But Judy was, and so was Jim Lebrecht, who starred and who directed. And Jim actually is the sound guy for the University of California, Berkeley School of Journalism for some of the documentaries there. And he did the sound mixing for documentaries my year when I graduated from there. So so I was in communication with them the whole time, even during, not just during the making of my film, but also during the making. Well, I mean, we had communicated a few times during the making of theirs. So because their process has been a long time. So they had started doing Crip Camp before I even knew Hale, and they were still filming, they were still working on it after Hale was already done. So
Are you like a filmmaker? Is that what your dissertation was in, filmmaking?
well, it's a journalism school. So
wow.
I am a journalist, filmmaker, and oral historian. I just graduated from Columbia in oral history in late 2019. So
too many degrees. Okay.
I have a lot of them.
Here I am, proud of my creative writing
I have a lot of
degree and certification in exclusion and education for disabilities through the University of Cape Coral, and you have so much. So thank you for the inspiration.
No, thank you. Thank you for being here today. I told Priya was one of the few people that could get me out of a zero sleep flight. It was like, all right, I'm gonna do this.
I know he was.
Anybody else?
Like, I'm exhausted. I'm like, sorry. There's no pressure.
No, it's fine.
Did you know someone with a disability that made you want? Is that where your heart? How did your heart get into this? I mean, how did you connect with disability?
Well, my father.
Asking.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, well, my whole family, is disabled, in lots of ways. And my father specifically is the only one that's still alive. Over a period of 6 years, I had my mother, grandmother, and grandfather all pass away. So that was traumatic in a lot of ways. And they were all disabled in different shapes and forms and fashions. And so, and Hale, the filming of Hale was at the tail end of my grandfather's passing. My mother died first, and then my grandmother, and then my grandfather. He was the oldest, and he outlived them. And he, so it was it was a very emotional time for me, clearly, and I was processing that, and and I think there's a lot of issues with patience that I hadn't really learned until I had to sort of deal with my grandfather's passing, which was an extended process, and so Hale. I filmed Hale, I think 2 months after my grandfather passed away. And so my father's still alive, and he was hit by a truck when I was 15. And he was 6'6", tough, tall, black, former football player. He goes, he sort of, as a kid, clearly especially when my father was so athletic, that embodies your childhood in lots of ways. And then, you have to go from that to when he was 15, where he had to, he almost died. He survived, but he became permanently disabled, and that changed my childhood and my life. And so these are issues that I've been dealing with almost my whole life. And I think that they're personal, and and I think when I met Hale, it touched me in lots of ways personally. And I think that was part of it. And I think that was part of what got even communicated in the film, that love for him, just pure and unadulterated love for him, for someone who I had never met before, but who clearly made me look at the world in a very different way.
And even though he can't really speak that much, he has so much character. Mm-hmm. And I think even just us as a viewer, not knowing him, I think, we're very drawn into him as a person.
Oh, he's phenomenal.
Yeah,
definitely. I related to him right off the bat. I felt like he was like my long lost brother.
He would appreciate that. He would appreciate that. He really would.
I know. I've actually seen a lot of things about him. He's just a very funny man. He's very sharp. He's almost like he's from New York or something. He doesn't seem very California.
Actually, Hale is California, but he actually went to high school in New York.
Ah, that's
really no wonder.
In Queens of all places. So
yeah, he has a very New York style.
Yeah. So you're right. There's a lot of East Coast in him in a lot of ways.
Yeah, definitely.
Very much so.
Yeah.
He didn't mind that question. I bet he gets that question a lot about. Do you ever feel like committing suicide? He didn't mind you asking that question?
He told me from day one that he had, as you saw from the beginning of the film, he has a lot to say. That was the first, when that first edit from the beginning of the film was literally the first thing we shot, unedited. That's why I knew we had a winner, because I walked into his house, first day of shooting, never shot anything with him before. He's like, just roll. And we had even a bit of a disagreement with the caretaker, because he's like, caretaker was sort of kept, didn't know we were coming. So he's like, who's this film crew showing up here? And so we're like, well, Hale sort of wants us here. And so there was like a bit of back and forth, but, but Hale was the boss, and Hale was like, we continue filming. And so he was, I was like, we'll leave if Hale wants us to leave. And Hale was like, no, you stay and you show everything. He's like, don't hold back, show everything. And so from him getting up in the morning to just the realness of that process, to eating, to get, to putting on his helmet. And then literally the first thing out of his mouth is like, I have a lot to say. And that's when I knew that, there was something very special going on. And the scene with suicide I was crying off camera. You couldn't see it. We edited out my sounds. I was actually crying because I couldn't hold it back as he was saying that. And it was a shocking question because I didn't even expect to ask it. I really didn't. And I think it just happened organically. And he answered, he paused, he said yes. And, and I think we all have challenges with the human condition. Look at what just happened over the past year. Look at how people went from perfectly healthy who are no longer with us. I know several people like that, where there were concerns. We all of us had concerns ourselves would be in that position. We didn't know what we were dealing with a year ago. And I think, who knows, we're as he said, we're all on that thin line. We're all on that thin line the entire time. It's a very thin line between life and death for all of us. And I think that was part of just, what went into all of that.
And I do also think when you're disabled, you're kind of more aware of that thin line than when you're not disabled, because maybe when you have so much ability and you feel strong and you're conquering the world, that thin line isn't as apparent as when you're a person. Like, there's like a scene where he's riding his wheelchair. And I've done this too when I lived in the Bay Area. I'm like riding my wheelchair in the streets because the sidewalks are all crappy. And you're like, I'm just going to ride in the street. I'm not going to. So I totally related to all of that, where he's just like riding around a car and, and I was just like, oh, yeah, I know what you're doing there. So yeah, I just think you kind of even take chances like that because you're like, hey, I'm just going out here and being part of the world where I'm not supposed to be, so I just think there's something, I don't know, that you become aware of when you don't have your body's not completely whatever normal is or whatever. Tylee, I see you raised your hand.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Mr. Bailey, I'm so happy you asked him that question because as a person with cerebral palsy, I've been there and I felt trapped in my body and I felt very suicidal at one point at the age of 23, all the way up to 24. But what got me out of it was writing and advocating for those with cerebral palsy. So I thank you for bringing awareness to the mental health aspect of cerebral palsy, because people assume that we always have to be positive and inspiration and role models. But the reality is we face our own demons too. So I thank you as a filmmaker for touching that topic that everybody's so afraid to touch.
No, thank you. Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you.
No problem.
Yay. So as I was saying before, Sean came late and missed the movie, but I'm just going to send you a link to that, Sean, because you should see it. So I wanted to transition into, Marguerite, go ahead, type, and I'm going to talk and say what I'm saying, and then I'll read your comment. Is it down there already? I can't see. Hold on. Let me look. Okay, so basically what I wanted to say was, the scene where Hale had to deal with the elevator, that happened to me. And so, like, as I described before, I had the ability to get out of my wheelchair and go down the stairs. So the movie I made is called Disability on the Spectrum, because once I started meeting a lot of other disabled people, I started realizing, like, our abilities are on the spectrum. Like, and I feel like a person, if they meet, you don't meet a lot of disabled people all the time. So it's like, if you meet one person with cerebral palsy, you think that's how every person that has that is. But, so I wanted to bring awareness that disability, someone has a disability, but the way they're affected is different. It's on a spectrum. Yep. So let me read quickly what Marguerite said. I have I have a headache all at once. What made you decided to do this short film? I do relate to walking in the street. So that's Margaret. Me too. Yes. Well, you live in Detroit. I'm sure the sidewalks are horrible there.
Very different. Very different.
Yes. Yes.
Very
They
different.
are. And using a rocker and a superstar. We were against the traffic.
That's not good. Against the traffic.
I've done that too, Marguerite.
That's
But
not good.
that's what I was like saying. I just think when you're disabled, you want to get out in the world, you do things that are kind of dangerous. You're just like, you think about it later, like, oh my gosh, what did I do? But you're so like driven to go do it that you're like, well, I'll just go against the traffic or whatever, and hopefully they won't hit me or something. You know, so, and luckily Marguerite and I are here to tell the story. We didn't get hit. So I'm going to show my movie, Disability on the Spectrum. It actually, Tylea and Freddie are both in this movie.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I'm just going to play it. And I hope all
Can I say something though? I do curse in this movie, Mr. Bailey, so I do apologize, but I do not apologize for my outspoken personality.
Oh no! Absolutely not. No, I love it.
No.
I had because I told Priya. No, you're fine. I listen. I told I'm no airs. I'm not very formal like that. So you know, if everything you want to say to me, just say it. I put my email in the chat because I have to run, unfortunately, to get ready for my 5:30 event here on the West Coast. It was in another 2 hours, and I still haven't slept yet. So I need to get a little mentally prepared for that.
Yes, I totally understand. Thank you so much, Brad, for coming.
Sure. And Priya, I would love to see your film. If you could send me that link.
Yeah, I'll send you the link for sure.
That'd be great. It was wonderful meeting you, Marguerite, Renee, Tylea, and Mr. Sean. Hopefully you'll enjoy the film. And Freddie, tell Freddie I said hello. It was great to meet all of you. It really was.
It was great to meet you too. Thank you for coming.
You have my email if you have any questions.
Yeah, definitely. Bye.
Bye.
Get
Bye.
rest. Keep safe.
Thank you.
Good luck on your next event. Okay. So I'm going to show Disability on the Spectrum now.
Once again, since Miss Marguerite's here and she hasn't seen it, I apologize. But I'm not responsible.
It's okay, Tylea. We're all adults. We can handle it.
Love this movie.
When the pandemic hit, like everyone else, I had obstacles, but I had opportunities within it as well. I was able to join the Zoom meeting for disabled people to discuss their issues with disability. And it was the first time in 21 years I was able to meet a group of disabled people that I actually got along with. The group was called Crip Chat, and we were definitely a diverse group of people. But the thing we all had in common was our interest in advocacy and activism. And out of this, friendships grew. And as these friendships grew, I began to notice the diversity of ability within specific disabilities. So I discussed it with some of the people from the group, and we thought it would be a great idea to make a documentary about it. We are going to present you with two different disabilities. Cerebral palsy is the first one, and that is a disorder that affects a person's ability to move, their balance, and their posture. The second one will be spinal cord injury, which occurs when a person's spinal cord is damaged. And this often leads to permanent changes in a person's strength, their sensation, and their bodily functions. I am so grateful that despite the obstacles we all faced with our disabilities, we were able to come together and make this movie happen.
My name is Freddie Ladner, and I have cerebral palsy. Due to my ability and doing physical things, it was hard for me to document this video, and I required assistance for filming. So I got my friend slash provider to help me film the video. And so that's how I was able to record and document everything.
And because of that, we've decided to do a series of interviews with Freddie to just talk about what his daily life is like. Taking a shower, like how much assistance do you need with that? Like, what does that look like for you?
Almost 100% assistance.
An assistant. So you have a person. So does like the sense of embarrassment or anything come like that into play with when that happens, when you have to ask someone for help with that?
Honestly, not really, because since I lived in a group home for 7 years at least, we always had turnover, and we always had new workers try out to see if they liked the job or whatnot. So you had to be comfortable with like just letting them see you naked, unfortunately. So honestly, that doesn't really bother me, because when you grow up in a group home, that stuff just doesn't bother you.
I know you have a roommate, but are you just like, is it like a regular roommate type situation, or what's the situation like?
He's my roommate. We were friends, and then he found out that the providers were not taking care of me like he would have liked. So he actually took over the job of being my provider. So he's actually my live-in provider.
So that's cool that your roommate's doing that for you. How do you eat? Like, does he make the food for you, or how does that work?
Yes, he makes the food for me, and he also feeds me. I could feed myself, but he feels bad, one, because it takes too long for me to feed myself, and two, it's an easier mess to clean up if he just goes ahead and does it for me. So that's the dynamic that we have with that.
Like, what time do you usually go to bed?
Anywhere from between 12 a.m. to 2 a.m.
Oh, okay. I thought you went to bed and you just hung out in bed from anywhere from 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. Do you ever just go to bed early and just like chill in bed and, go on YouTube and all these things that you...
Yeah, that's what I do. Like, because I have a hospital bed, so I'm able to go to sleep whenever I want to go to sleep.
Okay.
But you were right. I chill out on Facebook or YouTube or play Words with Friends.
So, Freddie, when you are in your bed, you surfing the web, writing people, doing what we all do, can you explain a little bit about how you've set your stuff up and what technology you use to be able to do those types of things?
Sure. I have a bedside table like you would normally see in a hospital room, and it just goes over my bed. And I have my laptop on the computer table. And with my laptop, I use Velcro to Velcro all of my remotes and everything to it, so I don't have to worry about anything falling off. I can just push the button and do what I need to do without it worrying about it falling. So that's what I do with the Velcro. And then as far as the computer, I can operate the computer with my disability the regular way, but I've found different techniques to make it easier for me. I use an app called Mouse Pro, and the app just makes it easier where I can communicate from my phone to the computer where I don't have to actually use my left index finger to actually type everything on the computer. Even though I have a disability and I have challenges to go through every day, these techniques that I have found have helped me learn how to interact with my community.
Okay. My name is Imani Cuffy Belk, and I was diagnosed with spastic diplegia, cerebral palsy, and I am 24 years old. I need minimum assistance. I have trouble doing my hair, and I have difficulty tying my shoes because of my hand coordination, but I can get dressed myself. I can bathe myself. In order for me to use the stove, I would have to sit down on my walker, which means putting the walker in front of the stove, which means that blocks the oven, so I can't use the oven at that point. But the way our stove is set up, the knobs are on the wall instead of at the bottom, so I would have to reach over the flame. That would be kind of dangerous if I'm cooking something hot on the stove. In the morning, it takes a while for my muscles to wake up, so to speak, and my body is affected by the weather a lot. So if it's cold outside, I'm stiff. So it takes me longer to get up in the wintertime than it does the summertime. I use a walker. I have two walkers, actually. I have a walker upstairs, and then I also have a walker downstairs. I have to kneel down to get things out of the fridge because at that point when I kneel down, the food is at eye level, so it's easier to reach. My walker has a basket in it, and it also has a seat on it. So I put things in the basket because I have to figure out a way to carry things around because I use both of my hands for my walker. So my hands are not free to carry the things around. So that's how I carry the food around. Normally I put if I'm making something, normally I put the ingredients in the bottom, and then if I need to get a plate or something, I put that actually on the seat. I use the walker as a seat when I get tired. Sometimes depending on where I'm going, sometimes I use it as a seat when there's no other seats available. And sometimes it's easier just to sit on the walker versus having to transfer from a chair to a chair because depending on the environment, it might just be easier and quicker for me to sit there. I'm blessed to be able to have the ability to have more independence by washing the dishes and doing laundry on my own. When I do laundry, I can put it in the washer and dryer myself, but actually bringing the basket downstairs, sometimes I need assistance. Sometimes I also need assistance when it comes to folding clothes, because my hand coordination isn't that great. So I try my best on that, but sometimes my siblings help me with the like folding the laundry and taking the dirty clothes downstairs. But I can put the laundry in the washer and dryer myself.
I'm Tylea Flores, a 25-year-old with spastic cerebral palsy. I'm an author, writer, and radio show host. CP is a neurological condition that affects one part of the brain. It affects your cerebral part of the brain. For me, it affects my left side more so than my right. I have more mobility in my right side than my left, but I never allowed it to determine my will and strength and determination. My morning routine depends on my CP if it wants to wake me up at 3 a.m. because it decides it wants to have a party and invite muscle spasm and chronic illness and stiffness. The way I would describe CP is like having an annoying tenant that doesn't move out and you're just hoping that it does, but it never does, and it makes loud noises every night and they throw parties and get drunk. Kind of like a college frat party. First thing that comes to my mind in the morning is, what could I do to be a better advocate for those like me? Yeah, that motivates me to get out of bed, although it hurts. Like when my mom has to lift me up and do everything, it hurts me. I'm a writer. And I'm currently working on 2 books, one that focuses on advocacy and one that focuses on ableism and romance. And then I have 1 book published, James Ticking Time Bomb. So that's 3 books. And like when I go to sleep, I'm constantly dreaming about these characters and what's gonna happen next. I wrote about you. I did, but I'm waiting to show you.
Oh my God, I can't wait to see it.
And I wrote about certain people in Crip Chat. I use my dragon dictation, my text to speech, and I use this little swanny finger. Because I was born with swan neck deformity, and the reason why it's called swan neck deformity is because the bone's so misformed that it's in the shape of a swan. This is an example of my swan neck deformity. As you can see, my little swan finger here, and this is all it does in different stages. Oh, goodness. Yeah, this hurts. But I'm gonna go take a nap and then see what it does after. So, be on the lookout for this crazy swanny. Okay, so this is after my nap. I just woke up a few minutes ago. But this is it after. Not much of a change, but it's very much more relaxed now. And now it's like I'm saying fuck you in CP form, but yeah, that's me after. And the reason why I use the accessibility keyboard is because sometimes when the swan wants to act up and I have a sore mouth, I could just open it up on my laptop and just type. That way I'm not stopping from doing what I love. That way I'm always doing it, so. Well, for the MacBook Pro, they're already built in with their new accessibility programs. MacBook Pros are like a lifesaver when it comes to writers with disabilities. Today has been one of my most difficult days with cerebral palsy in a few days. I mean, I had butt spasms all morning long, to the point where I have to lay down on my side and try to do my writing that way, but that's impossible right now as they get worse and worse by the second. And holding the camera is just, like, I just feel very much, I don't know if I could flip this thing over, but this is my computer and this is the angle that I have to put it in now because my butt spasms are killing me. And then tomorrow I'm probably gonna transfer out of my bed and into my chair, but this is the everyday reality of chronic pain, and my legs are under the blanket right now, but they're very unswept.
Hey, this is Hector Del Valle here. I'm a C5, C7 quadriplegic. I use a motorized wheelchair. I've been injured for about 38 years. So the Hoyer lift is, I use a number of medical equipment, and a Hoyer lift is what I use in order to do a transfer. And I like it. And the reason I enjoy that now, and I wasn't too crazy before it, is because it's big, it's bulky, it's hard to travel with. You gotta, I like the fact that it does try to get compact, but not too compact. But anyway, the Hoyer lift is something that I was forced to use after about 15 years of my injury. I broke my femur, but that's the reason I like it today. I wasn't too crazy about it because, like I said, it's too difficult to travel around. It's time consuming than just pivoting over to a bed or something like that. So I would say a good pivot, a good Hoyer transfer takes about a good 10 or 15 minutes, at least, I work out in my patio over there. I got a gym that I use to do it. So I do a lot of cardio, and sometimes cardio looks like this for like a good 5 or 10 minutes and stuff like that, get the heart rate going up and stuff like that. So I do a lot of self-exercise. Lynette, she's been with me like for about, 4 or 5 years.
I'm here to care for him and make sure that his needs are met to the best of my ability. And I believe his needs are priority because I'm his nurse and patient's supposed to get, what he needs. Right. So if you want 1 or 2?
I would like 2 because I'm a pig and I would like to have 2.
And we have some lemonade.
Lemonade, juice. I would have been having soda, but no. I got to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a C5, C7 quadriplegic, all right? And the reason that I'm learning to eat healthier, even though you saw the Chick-fil-A box, I am learning to eat healthier, right? Because you know why I go to Chick-fil-A? I go for their grilled chicken.
And unfortunately, only when I got here, I looked in and they didn't give us grilled today. I am so
Oh my God! So now we got fried
and
chicken
we don't
nuggets.
eat fried. We go grilled.
And we go grilled. So you're gonna have to edit this part out of the video.
And if you want, I'm gonna open some black beans and you can have them on the side or you can have them in your salad.
Great. And are they warm? Are they cooked?
I'm gonna warm them.
Yes. So I don't like cold beans, so I prefer warm beans. All right, and I like to have them in my salad. Nice little towel, like a little towel to cover the shirt, make sure I don't get dirty. All right, and we hold it up with what? Roach clips. See, I would know these as roach clips, but they're not really called roach clips. But because I used to be a pothead, we call them roach clips. I'm a quadriplegic, so my hands are affected. All right, so I can't hold that fork like I normally would, right? So I got some tenodesis in this hand. So when I drop my wrist like that, if I grab my fork and then pull it up, it allows me to do that. Key thing here is that I use plasticware, all right? Because if I use a normal fork, it's too heavy for me, all right? And I can't pick it up, hence I would need to be fed.
So my experience over the 38 years, I've had big vans, I've had small vans, and the way that I, mechanically drive with my body, and again, when I was 17 years old, I had a lot more upper strength in my arms, and so I would get on a lift, and the lift would take me into the van. There would be no driver's seat there. So, and the seatbelt would run right across. So all I had to do is just move forward, and the seatbelt will go right over my chest. And then you would hear this click, because underneath the wheelchair, there was this big screw, big heavy metal screw that would lock in to this lock, and I would lock in. Now in front of me, of course, is the steering wheel. And then to the left of me is this three-prong arm thing. What do you want to call it? Where you place your hand in, because of my paralysis, and I don't think you can see it very good there. See, this is why the camera probably needs to be sideways instead of up and down the way I have it. But hey, so anyway, can I do that real quick? No, sorry, I mess with us.
Yeah, that's fine. You can.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, cool. Look at Feels like, yeah, go ahead. You could do that, Quad. Good luck trying to do that without your nurse there. Yeah.
Good job.
Oh my God, now it looks real good. So anyway, oh my God, real close up of my hands. All right, so the hands are paralyzed, okay? And there's no wrist, where this one has a wrist. I can control that movement, okay? So my left hand would go in this thing where I had 3 prongs. It would lock my wrist in. So if I pull back, it wouldn't like come out of the control, the hand controls. And then if I push forward, that would push down on the gas. So pushing down, and it would do it with air. It was really the coolest thing. So it would use air to press down on the gas. And then when I pull back, I could just do manually pull back with press down on the brakes. Okay, so I got my gas and brakes there. I take this arm, this good hand, and I would put it on the steering wheel. And on the steering wheel, there was these 3 prongs, and I would put it in there, and that would allow me to drive. Put my right hand on the steering wheel that also has 3 prongs on it, and I can take it out of the steering wheel anytime I want it, just by doing this, just pulling back like this. But I can't. It won't. If I pull back, it'll stay in there. It's very safe. So so I use that to steer, right? Because I got this movement in my shoulders, and then I could turn the wheel around, and then I could steer that way. Now, my left elbow, if I wanted to make, if I wanted to like do the horn, if I wanted to beep at somebody while I was driving, I would just flick my wrist, my elbow to left, and there was this button on the side of my door that my elbow would hit if I wanted to beep the horn. So driving, whoa, whatever, beep beep, I was like beep beep. Anyway, so it'd be like a chicken thing over here, left elbow. All right, we're gonna be serious here. Left elbow to do signals. Right elbow, all right, still in driving, right elbow turns on my signals. Now, I had to be very careful about this because it's like 2 switches. Top switch is left turn, bottom switch is right turn. So driving, top left, want to go that way, want to go that way, stuff like that. And that was pretty much it. And I could drive for hours, and I have drove for hours. I think the most mileage, check this out, the most mileage I put in 1 year, Priya, 100,000 miles in 1 year.
My name's Priya Ray. I had a T12L1 spinal cord injury in 1999. I'm really fortunate because I am a paraplegic, which means I have use of my upper body and my lower limbs are paralyzed. But despite that, I have a strong core and I can use my upper body, which makes it different for me to drive than Hector. So in order to move the seat, there's these switches on the seat that they modified for me. This is how I get into the seat. So in order to drive, I use hand controls. I use this is the hand controls, and this, when I pull it towards me, it hits the gas, as you can hear that. When I go like this, it's the brakes. The turn signals are here. When I'm driving, you remember I'm pulling the gas, so I take my finger and I push it down, or I push it up to get the turn signals. To do the lights, the horn, there's a thing here, a little thing fell off of it, but this is basically how I do the horn, and these control the bright lights. To deal with my pain, there's a few things I do. I do actually take a medication, but I'm actually not sure if it helps my pain, because that's the twist of medication is for some people they know, but for me, I'm not really sure. So because the medical world doesn't really have solutions for me, I decided to do exercise. Exercise really helps me a lot. I do exercise at the YMCA. Before the pandemic, I would go there every day, and for half an hour I would ride this machine. That was really great. And then when the pandemic happened, I had to figure out ways to exercise, which I did, and it really helps me physically and mentally to deal with my pain. I also exercise because I have ability in different parts of my body. Like my quadricep muscles are pretty much normal, whereas my hamstrings and my other glutes are not. So that's what prevents me from walking. But with my upper body and the quadriceps I have, it allows me to get into my friend's house if they have stairs. I don't really need a caregiver 24/7 because for the most part I can do things on my own. I can get in and out of bed on my own. I can wear my clothes on my own. I don't need assistance taking a bath or going to the bathroom, and I can cook by myself too. It's really my pain that hinders my ability, and that's when I need Robert, who is my partner, friend, bandmate, and caregiver, to bring me hot water bottles and hot tea in the morning. Because of the spasticity I suffer from, my muscles get really tight in the morning, and I need those to loosen them up so I can get out of bed. Sometimes I need Robert to even cook for me because my pain is so bad. But the thing is, Robert has to work. He has another job. And when he's at work, he can't make me food. And sometimes I'll be sitting on the couch for hours and hours just thinking to myself, I have to get up and eat. I have to get up and eat. But I just sit there because the pain is so bad. But then finally, I pull myself into my wheelchair, move my body, and get over to the kitchen and heat up some food and eat. About 1.5 years ago, I was able to move into an ADA compliant apartment. Now this apartment is accessible and inaccessible all at the same time. Basically, the bathrooms are accessible. I have a roll-in shower with bars and a toilet with bars. So it's easy for me to transfer and take a shower and go to the bathroom. But the kitchen, not so much. When I go into the kitchen, the counters are lower, but not low enough for me. And quite often when I'm cooking, I have to put a bowl in my lap or in the drawers to be able to do things. The switch for the garbage disposal is located in a spot that's absolutely ridiculous. It's not even accessible to a person that's not disabled. The only spot in my apartment that is truly ADA accessible is the bathroom. And it's because of that that this apartment complex feels it's okay to categorize this apartment as ADA accessible. But it's not, because it's only accessible to some, but not to everyone. And when that is allowed, that is what creates the bigotry against the disability community where you live, and it should be stopped.
It is December of 2020. We are in a pandemic. As disabled people, we often worry about our health and lives during this unpredictable time. Despite our daily challenges, we are flourishing as we learn to navigate through this season of life.
In March, a disabled community was established, a group called Crip Chat, where we are able to gather together via Zoom.
After listening to each other's stories, we quickly learn that all of us have diversity in our abilities. We decided as a whole that it would be great to do a documentary about it.
Despite our abilities, we all documented ourselves however we could. Some of us had the help of our family members, others had the help of our caregivers.
we all had to figure out how to rig up our devices to record from, to bring you our film, Disability on the Spectrum.
Okay, that was my movie, guys. I hope you liked it. I got a thumbs up from Marguerite, so everything's good. I'll turn my camera back on. Yay. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone has questions. I don't know. I just assume everyone's seen this movie already. That's in here, but I don't think Marguerite's seen it actually. So, but
We
go ahead.
is Marguerite.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Say that again, Marguerite. I didn't have a chance to hear.
No. This is Marguerite Scarlett Maddox. It was very interesting because we have different abilities and to be able to find things that work for individuals.
Yeah, it's true because disability is different, just like humans are different. I like to say the disability experience is really the human experience,
Mm-hmm.
So that's a line I came up with the other day. I was very proud of myself. It popped into my mind. I was like, oh yeah, I'll write this down. But thanks, Sean. I'm so glad you liked it. Thank you so much. Sean wrote in the chat, it was great. So I feel weird to say that. Someone else should read that. No, I'm just kidding.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks. Yeah, I mean, I'm very proud that I made this movie. I never made a documentary before, so I'm really happy. And as I'm watching it, I'm thinking of different things I can do and stuff. So yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting because I haven't watched it in a while, so it was really great to see it and kind of look at it after a while and realize the things I would have done different. I'm like, oh no, that was bad. Oh, I should change this. But that's just like part of being an artist. You are always self-critical after you finish something. So things can always be done better or differently. So.
Right, and I'm gonna apologize because I have the hiccups. But doesn't it seem like
forever ago since we.
I know when you were like, it is the summer of 2020. I was like, oh my God. I was like thinking, oh my God, it was like the summer. We were doing, yeah, it's just like, it's great because it's a documentation of our time during
Right.
the year too. So it's like really awesome in that way. I like it because it's kind of like this documentation of the pandemic for us. So I really like that.
It just seems like it's been longer than it actually has been.
I know.
Yes,
I
it
know.
does. Really does.
It does.
Yeah.
Time is a liar. Time lies to us, people. Time lies. Or maybe time doesn't lie, but we lie to ourselves about time, I guess. Because time is constant. We just flow through life and be like, oh, it seems so much longer ago.
Right. And Sean just put this in the chat. He said, it's the same for my books, LOL. Could've, should've.
I know. That's why I said that, Sean, because I know you just finished your book and you're just like, if I should have done that, I could have done that. But, at some point you just got to cut the strings, let it go, and go on to the next thing. So that's the fight of an artist, is letting go of this thing that you did and moving on to the next. Yes, what's up, Marguerite?
We can learn from it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. What are you trying to advertise your book? Is that what you're saying, Sean? Well, I'm gonna actually take this off of you. So everyone, if you're on YouTube world, thank you for watching. I'm gonna get off of this now because I'm gonna suggest something to Sean, and I don't know. I don't feel like this should be a public conversation. So